Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I hope everything's okay in your life. In this video you will find an updated version of series I prepared in the previous years. You're in luck for listening to the explanation because I felt the need to quickly discuss the content of the video. Each video will feature an interview with a class master about either the Succession or Awakening versions of a class. All videos, including the older ones, will be available in the playlist you see on the screen. You can find the link of the playlist in the pinned comment section. The purpose of this video series is to help you understand the basic role of the class within the game. I must clarify that it is not a deeply detailed guide. You will watch an interview in a conversational style aimed at answering the fundamental questions of those interested in playing a class. The class masters featured are experienced players who have dedicated thousands of hours to their class and to the Black Desert Online. You may recognize some and not the others, but unfamiliarity does not make them bad players. All the class masters mentioned have proven themselves in Black Desert Online world. Please be respectful when sharing your thoughts. Enjoy watching. Hello guys, so welcome. Today's guests Travesty and Daymo. In this interview we have two different guests and we will mostly talk about Awakening Mystic. They both classmaster and they wanted to talk both together. Welcome guys, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Okay, let's start the interview. May you guys please introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? Which server are you playing at?
My name is Travesty. I play on the NA server, and I'm from Los Angeles. Yeah, I've been playing Awakened Mystic past 4 years now. I am a AOS enjoyer.
I'm a Daymo. I'm from Australia. I play on NA server primarily, but I've started picking up some more time on the Asia server, the SEA server, and I've been playing Awakened Mystic for about 6 years now. Mostly doing Node Wars over that time, but starting to do more AOS now as well with the SEA server.
Okay, thank you. So how did you guys find out the BDO and what caught your interest to stay in BDO?
So for me personally, I graduated college in 2019, and so I was searching for jobs for like a few months, and I don't think most people can go full job hunting mode. So I was looking around for an MMO, and BDO came up my search feed. I tried it out, and I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, for me, a while ago, like back before I played BDO, I played World of Warcraft primarily, and there was just a bit like a downtime where there wasn't much content going on, so I was looking for another MMO. And I was trying some different few ones out, and eventually came to BDO and just ended up having a lot of fun with it, and just kept playing it since then. There's nothing really the same that's comparable.
Thank you. Have you guys ever taken a break from playing BDO? If so, what motivated you to come back?
I've taken a couple breaks. Usually, if I'm taking a break, I'm not playing many other games anyway. So what motivated me to come back is usually just boredom or BDO. The break was long enough that BDO was fresh when I came back.
For me, I mostly played pretty much nonstop for the first like 4 years of my career in the game, and then eventually you just sort of had a retirement phase where I took a break. I was playing some other games, and then the thing that really got me back into the game was actually streaming. Just making like streaming what I was doing just made the whole game more interesting to me, and that's sort of what brought me back and pulled me out of retirement.
So, how long have you been playing the class you're currently playing? Have you tried any other classes?
So I've been playing Awakened Mystic since June 2019. I've tried other classes, but for the most part, I've only tried other classes because grinding on Awakened Mystic kind of hurts my hands. I think Awakened Mystic's a low APM class, but I messed up my hands when I first started grinding on her. I did like 10, 12 hours of polys a day, and so I have like permanent left-hand damage now. So yeah, just been trying other classes, low APM PvE classes essentially.
For me, I've been playing Awakened Mystic pretty much since it was launched. I think it was around I think it was February 2018. Could be wrong about that, but it was when I first started playing the game. Been pretty much playing Awakened Mystic exclusively the whole time. Even when Succession came out, I just didn't really vibe with it and stuck with Awakened Mystic. But then maybe about a year or so ago, I decided to tag something finally, and after trying a few classes, I ended up liking Awakened Meiwa because she had a lot of like similar playstyle in where you want to like catch someone and then combo them, but she was also different enough she like sort of had a bit more ratty playstyle, so it was kind of new and also the same. But yeah, primarily still playing the Awakened Mystic, especially after the recent buffs that she got.
Thank you. So, what sets the class you play apart from the other classes? What is a special thing in Awakening Mystic?
What sets our class apart from other classes is we have a very utility CC kit. We have a vacuum, we have a self PA, we have spiral torpedo, which is a frontal guard piercing CC. So I think it's a class that you can CC on quite a bit, and it doesn't really, and they're all protected CCs. So I think it's a fun class to play for sure with dragons.
For me, I just like monk classes. That was the main thing that appealed to me. But like the thing that makes it really unique, I guess, is a lot of the utility it has and the control that it offers a fight. Like you've got the vacuum, like Travesty said. It's got a lot of protected CCs compared to a lot of other classes. It's kind of low on the damage. That's like where it makes up. That's where it sort of balances out. But it's got a lot of slows, it's got vacuums, it's got a grab. It kind of has a tool for every situation, and that's kind of where it's unique, I guess.
So, is your class evasion or damage reduction or both playable, and why?
Awakened Mystic is evasion for PvP, and then damage reduction is good for PvE. You probably would never run damage reduction in a PvP situation outside of like fighting somebody who's really bad and you need the damage. But overall evasion is just much better on Awakened Mystic. You're not SA trading on anybody, and if you are SA trading, then your gear doesn't matter in that situation.
Yeah. Evasion is typically the way you would go because she's very reliant on her DP and her ability to stay in the fight and tank damage without being pressured out by the damage that she's taking. Like she doesn't want to just be hit too hard that she just dies and can't accomplish anything. So she really relies on being tanky, and evasion's typically the best way to get that. And a lot of her kit emphasizes scaling her evasion.
And let me just add, I have both sets and I've used both. Yeah, you just typically in a damage reduction set, your damage is increased by 10 to 20%, but your tankiness level is decreased by like 50%. So it's not an equivalent trade-off.
Thank you. So, what is your current gear score? Do you rush your gear progress or you take it easy?
I've been rushing my gear score since I started the game. Been playing catch up since I started in June 2019. So I've been always rushing. My current gear score is 771. Now that comes with like the meme that I'm using Pen Manos Ruby earring. And since I have both Tet Evasion, Tet DR, I use the Tet DR boots and then Tet Evasion gloves because they're higher gear score. And then I use this Nuver C20. So a lot of caveats. My actual gear score most of the time when you fight me is around 750, but you add up all the highest gear score items in the game, I'm 771. I think if you rush or you go with the flow, rushing will burn you out, but since I've always been rushing, it's just my status quo.
For me, I'm about, I think, 743 gear score for my primary set. There was a time where I was more geared than Travesty, and then obviously he caught up and went beyond, far beyond. So yeah, more of like the take my time sort of thing. I liked grinding like treasure items and stuff like that. That's kind of what, like grinding for silver just feels boring to me. So I kind of like grinding somewhere that like might give me a rare drop and then just get silver along the way. So my gear progression is sometimes a side thing, but I still kind of focus on it. At the moment, I've kind of slowed down because it's like a lot of grinding just to get a very minor upgrade, and so now I'm just like taking it chill and focusing more on PvP.
Is your class newbie friendly? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate its difficulty? If you want, you can separate Succession and Awakening, and mostly Awakening.
Yeah, I'll just speak on Awakening. For PvE, I think our class is very noobly friendly. It has a lot of tankiness and HP regen on hit and PvE, so it can be fairly tanky, and also has a good amount of damage with medium-sized AoEs. When it comes to PvP, if you're in the lower gear score, I think your gear matters on who you're fighting, because at, below 650 gear score, I think Awakened Mystic is very forgiving, because a lot of the times you'll be able to CC your opponent, and at those lower gear scores, when you CC somebody, as long as you can combo properly, which isn't too hard, I would say, you're going to be able to get a lot of value out of being on Awakened Mystic. So very newbie friendly. I would rate it probably a 5 out of 10.
I think definitely for PvE, it's a very straightforward class. Like, it's just kind of got the whole, you generate your shards and then you spend your shards and you do more damage. And they've even like kind of made that whole system a lot simpler more recently, so it's less like micromanaging, and you kind of just like use your skills on cooldown. So it's pretty straightforward. You've got like your key skills that they do what you expect them to do. I think she's a very intuitive class as well. Like, just in the controls, like if you press forward and then another button, you'll do a skill that moves you forward. If you do sideways and that button, it will move you sideways. If you do backwards, it will move you backwards. So all like the buttons kind of make sense to you, and that was kind of one of the things that really made me love the class when I first started playing it. For PvP, I think like 1v1s and that sort of stuff, probably pretty newbie friendly. But then when it starts getting into like the bigger fight, and you've got to be like, comboing is pretty straightforward, but doing it off of all the different CCs that you could get is what makes it more challenging, and just really getting the most out of every catch you get, because that's kind of where it struggles. But like lower gear score levels, you don't really have to deal with that so much as when everyone gets more tanky, that it really shows how much you can improve to really be better. But as a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably like middle of the pack, and it's probably not too different from Succession, but I haven't really played it.
Yeah, and I just want to add a little bit onto that as well. I think even though it's newbie friendly, I think like a lot of classes, there is a very high skill ceiling, especially when it comes to, as Damo was saying, things larger than 1v1. Because 1v1, you only have to focus on one person, but when you add two people to like a 3v3 situation, then you want to be tracking things, you want to be positioned right to be able to utilize the whole kit, and that's where I think a lot of her value comes from.
Okay, I think we talked about the general things, the basic things about Awakening Mystic. Let's go a little bit deeper. We are curious about your thoughts on the PvE situation of the class. Could you provide us with the detailed information separately? How is the class? How is Awakening Mystic for early, mid, and end game?
Yeah, so I think early game, pretty good. You have a lot of free, easy movement. It's just your dash with Spiral Torpedo as well. So you can really do a good job in early game, I would say, 0 to 240 AP. The mid game, 240, 290 AP. I think she's also very strong. Spots like Orcs, spots like, I think it's Giants now. She does pretty well there. Clears definitely in the top 10, if not top 5. And then end game, you're talking spots like Gyfin, or even more like Tungrad Ruins, Crypt, Resting Thoughts, Olins. I think Awakened Mystic is top 5 when it comes to clear speed and just in general. So I think she does very well. Only reason I don't play her is because you do have to press shift a lot, which I've moved to space. So just get ready for that shift spam.
I think Awakened Mystic is just good at everything across the board, or at least she's able to do everything in a good way. I think the areas that she kind of struggles in, compared to other classes anyway, like she works in all places, but other classes might shine more due to their AoEs or their movement. So like in the low end grinding, she's got pretty good AoE, good enough for like a lot of the close packs. Like Centaurs probably would be a place that she would be weak at because everything's so spread out. But places like Polys and like all those sort of low end grind spots that you would typically like grind for your potion piece at and things like that, she is more than capable of. A bit of the issue that she has there is because she relies on the number of she hits at a mob to generate shards that she then then uses to dash. If she kills things too quickly, she doesn't generate as many shards, and then she kind of ends up having to like run between packs, whereas other classes can just keep moving as normal. So that's kind of where she falls off. But then like in mid game, like places where she can stand still, she's very strong at, assuming that the AoE isn't too big of a problem. So Gythans is one of the places that she really excels at, especially since she's got pretty good burst damage now. But then some of the deckier places where AoE is more important, that's kind of where she starts to have a bit more of a weakness. But she's still good at them. And then she's also really good at surviving in a lot of those higher end spots and like getting to those spots earlier when your gear might not be up to par as what you would need to be for other classes. She's got so much survivability and so much healing. Like when I mess around with another class, I'm just like, wow, that place actually hurt. And I'm so like boiled by playing Mystic that I don't even realize how dangerous some of these places are. So she's very tanky and very good at a lot of the end game spots for that reason. She's also got good tools for accuracy for some of the places that have high evasion.
Man, if I could add to that, since I tag classes for PvE, yeah, her tankiness is a lot more. You're not gonna get randomly one shot. Like I've been playing Witch, Wusa, and Sucklon for the past like 3 PvE tags, and they can get close to one shot. Whereas Awakened Mystic, same gear set for PvE, you know, it'll be like 50%, and you'll probably regen it before you even notice.
Thank you. So we're curious about your thoughts on PvP situation of your class in Awakening Mystic. Could you provide us any detailed information separately for 1v1, 1vx, AOS, 5v5, Guild League, Node, Siege, Forza Roses, from the smallest scale to the biggest scale?
One of the main reasons why I wanted to make sure Daymo was here is because I'm like a serial down player for Awakened Mystic. I think it's just because I played her for so long that I just hyper focus on everything that she's not great at. But in reality, I think she has a lot of good stuff going for her. It's just like not at the level that I want it. So for 1v1, I think Awakened Mystic has the same struggle that most classes have. If you can one combo them and they can't one combo you, that means the 1v1 is in your favor. But since Awakened Mystic's damage is pretty low, even in a combo against a lot of these new meta classes, I think she struggles to be able to one combo somebody. So in a lot of situations where I'm fighting somebody who's equally geared, they can one combo me, I can't one combo them. So that's where the 1v1 suffers, and it happens a lot because Awakened Mystic's base damage is so low. For 1vx, again, same problem. You don't have a lot of protected damage. You're a combo class, so the problem that is in 1v1s where you can't one combo is even amplified in a 1vx because your combo is different because you have to stay protected. Even though you can get the CCs off, most likely they're going to stand up with like 70-80% of their HP. The only times you can like properly 1vx, in my opinion, is if you outgear them, like their seasons 2 volley Timmys, then you can like 1vx. Or in RBF, the point debuff, Misty Haze. The point debuff in RBF is like super unfair for the people that own the point. And so in those situations, you're able to 1vx because your damage is just like multiplied by 3 to 4 times. For AOS, I've been playing AOS since the first season came out. I've been having a lot of fun on Awakened Mystic. I would say Awakened Mystic is easily a B rank, can be argued A, but I think she suffers again in that she can't hard carry a game. Like Suck Mystic can hard carry. Suck Mystic has the damage to pressure V by themselves. They're able to potentially one combo. If it can't one combo, they can get the person very low. Awakened Mystic, if you down smash reset somebody, which is unlikely in a 3v3 situation, but if you do, you can have like similar damage to Suck Mystic. But for the most part, her crowd control and vacuum can be pretty good in those like 3v3 highly competitive settings. For 5v5, as soon as you add more people, I think Awakened Mystic starts to really fall off. So 1v1, 3v3, I think she's viable. 5v5, you're probably gonna be inting if the other 5v5 set of 5 is properly built, but you can still get some value out of that kind of situation. Guild League, I've played a lot of Guild League. Kidding, I haven't played a lot of Guild League. My guild can barely get 6 people, 7 people, but of the Guild Leagues I've done, if you're stomping noobs, it can be fun, but I think every time I've fought like Cho Nation, it's just been like terrible. So, but I think most people would just have a terrible experience fighting Cho. Node and Siege War. So I've done a few Node and Sieges in my time, and for the most part, it hasn't been that fun. But I haven't done as much as Daymo has for the Node and Siege scene. All I remember is just not having fun playing Awakened Mystic in those aspects. I had fun playing Suck Mystic and Node War, because the Suck Mystic can actually SA trade somewhat. But yeah, that's my experience in Node and Siege. And then War of the Roses, never done it, so can't really speak.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, a lot of the 1v1 stuff, like what Travesty said, I think she's got a very strong kit to deal with a lot of classes, because like she's got so much utility that she's kind of got a tool that can be used for different classes. Like the vacuum can be used for like the sort of loopier classes like Musa, Meiwa, and Zerka, like classes that move around a lot. She can control them and then keep them in front of her, so then she can CC them and combo it. So she's got a lot of strong catch potential, but where she struggles is then using, like, transitioning that into a kill. She's not very good at throwing her damage at people. So she really relies on getting that catch first and then getting that combo and then throwing the damage and ideally killing them with it. If you're in a situation where you can't do that, that's when she really starts to fall off, particularly when it starts getting to higher gear score levels. It just feels like a lot of classes outscale Mystic. Like I'm 743 gear score, and really all I can do left for my build is to get Tet armors, so that's like another 12 gear score, and like I still struggle to kill people with what I have, and I can't really sacrifice more DP for more AP, because then I'm like too squishy and it just doesn't really work. Yeah, that's kind of where she struggles in the 1v1s, and then again, that when it gets to the 1vx, because she's got so much control, can survive in 1vx's for a fair while, and she can like juggle people, and she's got like so much crowd control that you can just get a group of 3 people and keep them on the floor for ages. But for actually trying to kill those people, that's when it's really hard. So she does well when she's got friends and she can control all that, and then everyone else just comes in and cleans up her work. But to actually finish those people off, eventually you just run out of steam and get caught and get killed. It's been so long 1vxing that just more people show up and then they just all run over you together. So that, like, she's got the potential to do it, but it's very gear reliant. It's hard. It's a lot of work. For AOS, because she's got so much control. So I did AOS when it first came out. It was the preseason, but then I didn't really do it much until maybe about a couple of months ago when I started playing it a lot more. Once the latest shard changes came out, and then I also made the SEA account, and I was working on that as well, where my ping is 80 instead of 220 or whatever. It feels a lot better over there, so I've been really enjoying her in AOS, and I think AOS, the place where she's at her strongest. Like this, that is the place where you're going to have the most fun with her, in my opinion. DCs feel very rewarding to get, and that's like her strength. Like in RBF and other places, you don't really get the same satisfaction for catching someone and then someone else killing them, because you just got your kill stolen, sort of thing. But in AOS, you could just win a fight by just catching everyone, and that feels really fun. You can still 1vx in those sort of settings because everyone's locked at like a lower gear score, and it feels like that's kind of where she's at her strength. You still have like lower damage compared to other people, but it's not so low that you can't really make anything work. And then yeah, because you have so much control, you can really offer a lot to the fight, even if it's like you're not getting all the kills or doing all the damage. 5v5, as Travesty said, as it starts getting more people, that's when she feels weaker and weaker and weaker, because you really rely on being able to tank enough damage to not be pressured out of the fight. And the more people that there are in the fight, the more damage you're taking, and then it's less about controlling them and more about you just trying to stay alive. And then like, what's the point of you there if you're just running and hiding, trying not to die the whole time? And then Guild League, that's 10v10, so it's kind of the same thing. I didn't do a lot of Guild League originally, and then I joined a guild called Ventus, which is, they do a lot of Guild League, and I think they're currently ranked 2 on NA. But whenever I join them, I just feel like I'm a dead weight in that group. I've even tried building as a full DP build because I was just taking too much damage from the people there. Like 2 classes can just like pop me. Even in full DP, 1 archer just killed me in half a combo, and it feels pretty awful to play. I think in lower tier fights where you're fighting like not the top end of the game that are like hard capped and stuff like that, I think she might feel more fun where you're not pressured out of your DP as much. But yeah, when there's more people, it starts getting harder and harder to have fun on her. And then that also then transitions to Node War and Siege. I think like for capped nodes, like tier 1s, she doesn't feel too bad, especially like in a ball, particularly in like the 30-mans, because so low damage that you can actually survive and do stuff. And she's got pretty good healing when you're in the middle of the fight, so that as long as you're not getting CC'd and you just keep fighting, you can really live in the ball for a long while. As it getting higher caps nodes and more people, it just feels like you're just trying to stay alive again. And at that point, I feel like you really want to be playing in like a specialty role. Like I'd say flex, but sometimes flex is just an extension of the main ball that wants to go hit the back line. And Mystic doesn't really have the mobility to do that. She kind of wants to be the engager, but can't survive being the engager when there's too many people. So she kind of just has this. She doesn't really work. She kind of wants to be in a situation where she's fighting over an objective, like cannons or anti-cannoning, or like fighting around defense. Just having people come into you, so then you can control the area that they're trying to fight around, and then you get all the catches, and then everyone else like follows up on you and stuff like that. But when you're trying to chase the really fast ratty classes around, especially with shy buffs, it's just too hard. You just end up getting kited until you get killed. And then Siege, same thing. It's just more people. You can go full DP, try and be in the main ball, but I feel like it's still really rough. I think you want to be in like a cannon team or an anti-cannon team, or like controlling an area. You kind of want to like skirt around the fight and like fight on high grounds and like get the range off of ledges and stuff like that, because you just can't survive in the middle of the ball. I think War of the Roses. I did do one War of the Roses, and I had a lot of fun with it, actually. It was against Cho, so it was tough and we did lose. But for the time that we weren't losing, where it was just kind of running around into like small groups and fighting around objectives, it actually felt pretty fun, because you're like fighting around those areas, so you could control the chokes and you just kind of brawl it out. You're fighting people of different gear scores, so you can really, like, there's some people that you feel like a god against, like you're just so tanky that you can just keep fighting, and then there's other people that can just pop you, and so you just stay away from those people and then fight the people that you are strong against, and then you actually have a lot of fun. But you have to like fight away from the fight and just pick people off around the outskirts and out 1v1 and 1v2 people. Yeah, that's my view of her in a lot of those different situations.
Thank you so much. Is there a significant strong aspect of the class you're playing, or significant weakness? I mean, what is the strongest spot? What is the weakest spot?
Yeah, so a significant strong aspect of the class, I think Daymo and I have been saying, she has a lot of CC potential, a lot of protected CC potential, and a lot of crowd control things like slows and vacuums. In a situation where getting the CC first usually means you're winning, not including any damage or combo follow-up, she's pretty strong. But then when the significant weakness is she doesn't have any like SA trade skills. We're in a SA trade meta right now where people can kill you standing. A bad trade just means you're out of the fight or dead. So she doesn't have anything that she can do to SA trade. So that's like a significant weakness. And then also, in order to get our damage off in a combo, combos can be quite long, and a lot of it is going to be unprotected. So you can't do a combo in a situation outside of 1v1 because you'll probably get CC'd by the multiple range CC classes in the game. Another thing I would like to say, so Daymo's playing Inventus, which is a very high tier guild for Guild League. When you're noob stomping on Awakened Mystic, it can feel pretty good as any class with gear, but Awakened Mystic feels especially good because, again, we have the CC ability to put a lot of people on the ground, and then when you're fighting Gearlet, so I'm in Lifestyle, and we go against, like, Gearlet guilds, so there are a lot of opportunities for me to, like, 1vx because I'm fighting somebody who is 630 gear score, and I'm fighting, like, 4 of them, and so I can CC all of them and then actually kill them. But as soon as you're fighting somebody who's within 50 gear score of you, like someone who's like 720 gear score versus me, yeah, I feel it and I can't kill them. That's my 2 cents on this one.
Yeah, I think probably covered most of this with the previous question, but yeah, I think her main strength is obviously the CC. She's very good when she has a gear advantage. She just kind of feels unstoppable because you can actually kill people quickly, and you're just so tanky that they can't kill you. And even if you get on the floor, you get up and you end up CCing a bunch of them, and then you probably kill a couple of them, and then you just keep healing up and just keep fighting. So that's when she feels really strong. Like in RBF, I had a lot of fun with her gear, depending on what's in there, because it's just in an environment where everyone's so tanky. But yeah, her main weakness, like, she does have some skills you can kind of use to SA trade, but it's very limited. It's just Rising Dragon and Sea Burial, and then that's all you really have access to. A lot of classes have a skill that has a protected CC and also has high damage, and Mystic doesn't have any of those. All of her CCs are low damage, and then the few protected the few protected skills that she have, like she's got them, but then the majority of the skills that she needs to use are unprotected. So she's kind of got this issue where she's got too many CCs, and then the ones that are protected and you can use don't do damage. So you have to catch someone, and then you have to do some damage, and then you have to re-CC them, which doesn't do damage, and then catch them again, or not catch them again, but then get some more damage in. And when there's other people around, you just run out of stuff to throw, and then you end up having to either run away because you can't stay in the fight anymore because you ran out of stuff, or you just risk it and try and throw some of the unprotected damage in to hopefully finish someone off. So yeah, that's kind of where the weakness comes in. And as I was saying before, she doesn't feel like she scales into the late game as good as other classes does. Like her main strength is that she's really strong when she's got gear on people, but if she doesn't have that gear on people, she just really falls off.
Thank you. So let's talk about counter matchups. Are there any classes that can Awakening Mystic clearly dominate the class? I mean, or are there any other classes can clearly dominate her, like in both situations?
Yeah, so I think Awakened Mystic has a lot of good class matchups when it comes to 1v1. That's her strong suit. If you fight a magic class like a DK is probably used to like one-shotting people standing. But if you're fighting a Mystic, a DK is going to have a lot of trouble one-shotting them or even trading them down. So in a situation where you're fighting somebody with no grab and most of their damage is magic, I think she has like a very strong ability to win that fight. Sork is being an exception because Sork cannot get grabbed and it just be like a very long fight. For bad matchups, I would say any class that is fast or is also evasion but can do damage in an evasion set. So Awaken Ninja, Suck Ninja, those two are like very dominating classes. I would say Awaken Ninja even more so in the 1v1. If you're fighting a ninja, they're just so fast that there's really nothing you can do outside of just like counting the seconds when they grab you, and they have like 2 grabs, and they can kill you in an evasion set where you do 20% of their HP in a combo. I would say another class that is a pretty bad matchup, especially if they're playing to win, is like a Musa. I think Daymo might have a different opinion, but I think Awaken Musa and Evasion is just so fucking OP. That class
I agree.
can run so much evasion, but still do enough damage to pressure. Usually in an open world setting, you can't kill them in a combo. You can do maybe 50% of their HP, and then they just run away, get full health back, and then E-buff and kill you. So those are like 2 classes that come to mind when it comes to like a bad matchup. I think there are more when it comes to like what I've had to deal with in oppressive 1v1 matchups. Awaken Musa, Awaken Ninja come to mind. Awaken Ranger as well, but Awaken Ranger just kind of beats everybody.
It's kind of less about what classes you have bad matchups against and more about like what builds you have bad matchups against. It's like sometimes they're the same thing, but like a certain class, depending on the build, can be like just really oppressive and you can't deal with it, or is easy and it's fine. So like Musa's one of those ones where if you can one combo the Musa and like they're playing if they're just like a DR Musa and they're very AP heavy, there's still a lot of outplay you can do when they come in to do damage to you, and then you grab them or you vacuum them and then grab them and slow them and whatever, and then you can just one combo them and kill them, and then that's fine. But when they're so tanky that you can't do that, and you've used all of your tools just to try and catch them the one time, they just get up and then they just keep healing. It takes you so long to catch them again that you can't kill them, and you can't they just heal up again, and you're just in this loop until they eventually CC you, and they just do more damage than you, so then they have more pressure on you, and it just takes like 1 or 2 CCs, and then that's it, you're done. And you can't really run away the same way they can just chase you down, because Mystic's relatively immobile compared to a lot of some like these other classes. But like for actual class matchups, they're bad. I think like Awaken Ranger is really hard. Also, Awakened Sage is one that I think is very tough, and probably one of her like innately hardest matchups, because Sage just moves more than what Mystic does. Like every dash that the Sage does is just like 1.5 the distance of what the Mystic does, and he can just zone you so much, and he's got the range grab, and he's got really good damage, and a lot of them build just to be evasion, so they're really hard to one combo. So they're really tough to fight. Yeah, any evasion class usually does better than Mystic. I think Suck Mystic's also a pretty big counter to Awaken Mystic, just mostly because of how the gear scaling works. Usually if you have like a Mystic and a Awaken Mystic and a Suck Mystic fighting it out, you're probably going to get catches on each other, but the Suck Mystic has a lot more kill potential than the Awaken Mystic, so that's kind of how she fills people ahead. Yeah, and then on the other side, is when like the range classes that have a lot of damage, they're really tough to fight. Where you have to be tanky to even do anything. If you're not tanky enough, they just kill you. So that's kind of like the other counter, is just someone who has the ability to throw their damage at you and you can't survive that damage. So that's like the other matchup weakness, because they just keep kiting you or keep throwing damage at you until you die.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. We have mobility, but not crazy mobility, so that we can chase those kind of people. So if we're fighting casters, Wusas, Megus, things that have range damage and are, pretty fast, we can't chase them, unfortunately. If we do, we're just like probably wasting our time and dying into chip in a lot of situations.
Can we say that like Awakening Mystic's mobility similar to Succession Valkyrie, limited but protected?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. She's got like a bit of burst movement that she can use, but it's just not very fast compared to what the current state of the game is. And like classes just pop out of render range and they're on top of you, and you just can't really keep up with that. And then they can also just run away from you at the same speed, and you're just left sprinting, and you're like, well, I can't keep up with that. She's very reliant on having people come to her and then fighting them in front of her, catching people out. She does have a couple tools to like really catch people on the end of range, but she's very vulnerable in doing that. I'm talking about Perfect Blow, Dash, Elbow Edge. It's good for like catching a lot of like ranges and stuff like that if they're doing something unprotected at range. But if you miss that, or if they're protected, or if they resist it, then you're just dead. You can't really do anything after that anymore. So that's kind of one of her weaknesses.
Thank you. So is there any mechanic or skill in your skill kit to get like, would you think that any buff or nerf? One thing for buff, one thing for nerf.
I think Awakened Mystic, in theory, is a very hard class to buff. And I say that because she is able to CC, and she is pretty oppressive when there is a substantial gear difference. So you buff any aspect of her class, then she might become, a meta class. But in order for her to be a meta class, she'd have to be like stupidly broken. So that aside, I think she has way too many protected CCs. I think something that can be done for her is remove CC from some skills, but add protection to them. So for example, Wave Orb right now is a bound. Maybe add Frontal Guard to Wave Orb so that we have a protected slow, but remove the CC from it. That's one thing. We have Earth Splitter, which is our new skill, quote unquote, from the reworks or whatever. That skill is another bound. How about remove the bound from that and make it SA? Like small things here that give us a little bit more options in a group situation where we need to, quote unquote, dump damage versus always having to hold our skills. A lot of the times we have to hold our skills, otherwise we actually re-CC early, because that literally is the only thing we can do in a lot of situations, is use our skills that are SA, which end up being a re-CC or a bound or something along those lines. Nerf-wise, yeah.
There you go.
Nerf-wise, I don't really think about that too much, so not much to say on that.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the stuff you said, they're kind of like a buff and a nerf at the same time. It's like if you're nerfing a CC and you're giving her protection in exchange. And yeah, I think like she's strong in like this sort of small scale stuff, but then when it gets to the larger scale stuff, that's when she just falls off to like near unplayable. Like I don't think she needs a lot of buffs. I think she just needs like small stuff. There was something that they gave Warrior at one point recently. I don't know exactly what it is, but I just heard about it, that they use a skill when they're in the middle of a ball, and then they get a buff based on how many people are around them. And I think that's a really cool mechanic that they could start bringing into more of the melee classes to make them more relevant in the larger scale fights. Because at the moment, large scale just feels very range dominated unless you're a really fast melee class that can get to the backline quickly and just kill a bunch of people and leave. So like the sort of slower frontline classes that don't really have that mobility or burst kill potential, it would be cool to give them something that, because if you just like make her tanky, then she ends up being like kind of like what strikers are like, where they just be really tanky and they just run at you, and unless you have the damage to kill them, they're just going to eventually kill you, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. It's like a very delicate thing to balance. But yeah, I think taking away some of the excessive CCs that she has and making them a protection instead would be a good like buff / nerf. I mean, it's mostly a buff, but she's also losing out in some areas as well. She just needs a little bit more protected damage. I would like it if her PA, the Infinite Fortitude, it gives you like effectively a PA buff. It had a bit more offensive potential, or it was a bit stronger than just standing there and soaking a bunch of damage. Like it gives you a 5-second buff after, so you can kind of fight your way out of a situation for a bit. It would be nice if it gave you like an SA buff as well, so then you could actually utilize some of your more unprotected skills that you normally wouldn't be able to do, and then like kind of have that you're backed in a corner and you can try and fight your way out. At the moment, it's kind of like you just come out and you just try and CC people, and if you didn't CC them, you died. Like that's it.
And Damon, I think you bring up a good point about the PA. I think it just sparked an idea. Just like Awakened Valk has like the PA heal or the SA heal. I think if we added something to Awakened Mystic's kit that not necessarily helped her but helped teammates as well, I think that would make the PA just feel a lot more valuable than just standing there with your arms out, saying I can tank this but nothing else. You can slow me and then I can't do shit.
It'd be nice to give her some like sort of group buff, or just something unique that makes her worth bringing over other classes. Because at the moment, every other class kind of does her role better, but she can do a bunch of different things, but she's just not good at one specific thing that another class can't do. And that's kind of where I feel like she struggles.
Thank you. Can we get a brief summary? What she can offer to newbie or returnee someone, and what should they expect from Awakening Mystic? Just a summary.
Okay, yeah, so good PvE, good 1v1. You can expect to be able to grind spots at above average, if not almost top efficiency, and then you're also going to be able to defend your spot if it's a 1v1 duel for spot situation, which is more rare nowadays than ever, but back in the day that actually mattered. Is able to CC a lot, so if you like CCing people, I think she is a very good class. Your average player can probably CC somebody on another class who's an average player of their class a lot more. So you can expect to CC them a lot more in that situation. So I think good PvE, good 1v1. Outside of that, you have to start being a little bit better than your average Mystic. But then you can offer a lot in AOS as well.
Yeah, so just to build on that, I mean, otherwise I'm just repeating the same thing. I think, she's good at pretty much anywhere you take her in like PvE wise. She'll be able to handle it. And then she also just feels very rewarding to play in PvP. If you're someone that likes outplaying people and like controlling people, like getting those CCs, catching them out, baiting people into getting CC, stuff like that, she feels really fun to do. Like even though she might not feel as effective as like some of the OP meta classes that are around, she feels really fun to play. And if you are okay with just not being exceptional or like the top fragger or anything like that, and you get a lot of validation out of just knowing that you outplayed someone, she's a really good class for that.
Thank you. I think we talk about Mystic in details, deep, and all of those informations are like they're priceless. Let's talk about game itself a bit. What are your thoughts on BDO current situation from past until now?
Yeah, so I've been playing the game since 2019. I've seen BDO have its ups and downs. I think right now, having its ups despite, I think BDO being in a pretty good spot, especially for PvEers. I think the recent changes they made on guild decks, open world PvP, like the karma system, or feeding to mobs, etc., I think that kind of has upset a lot of the veteran player base. But I think as like a more of a PvEer than Daymo, I think these changes are better overall. It's just these changes should have happened a long time ago, but since they didn't happen a long time ago, a lot of people are just kind of used or want the way it was before, which was a lot more open world PvP that felt natural. Now a lot of the PvP now feels unnatural. It's like forced or set up PvP. The PvP situation in BDO kind of has suffered quite a bit, whereas the PvE has gone up. But PvE is just doing circles, and if you're PvEing because you want to get gear, you're gonna get burnt out really quickly. But if you're PvE like me, where it's just like something you do for fun and you like seeing gear progress in general, I think the BDO is in a very good spot right now.
Yeah, so I think for the new player experience for BDO now compared to like how it was like 6 years ago or even a couple of years ago is probably the best it's ever been. I think a lot of the changes that have happened over the years, mostly positive, like for a quality of life and not feeling like you have to spend heaps of money to play the game and all that sort of stuff. I feel like that's better than it's ever been. But like talking about the PvP open world stuff and the deck changes and all that, personally I'm in the pool of people that really don't like those those changes. I think some of them were okay, but I think overall it was a massive overcorrection to a problem that they just handled very poorly. And I think it's removed a lot of the content within the game, which I personally, it's what made me fall in love with the game, was just having like these organic wars with people and just fighting open worlds. And I feel like it created a lot of like community aspects with your guild and with other guilds, and actually gave you a lot of player interaction. And I feel like now you kind of just like, everyone's playing their own game and they're kind of walking around, and there's no conflict or interaction with each other. Because like not all conflict is bad. Like there's a lot of friends that I've got made in this game, like really good friends that started off as us PvPing and fighting each other and like trying to kill each other. And just because we respected each other from the fight, we just become friends. Like even Travesty, I met him organically in the open world because
Tarzan,
I don't
baby.
know if it was you. It was just like some of our guildies started fighting each other. There was a deck, and then people started fighting, and then more people within the guild show up and fight. And then, like, the people that show up to fight, they're just there to fight. And then you just end up meeting people and you go, oh, this guy's cool. And then you chat with them a bit. And then you just become friends like that. And I feel like a lot of that's missing now, because now people are just like, well, it's not worth fighting each other because I'm not grinding money. And people just kind of leave each other alone. And I feel like it takes a lot of the interaction out of the game. But still, as a new player, if you want to just get into the game and just PvP people, you got AOS, you got cap node wars, you got all these really good things for new players to just start playing. You don't have to feel like you have to catch up so much. But yeah, that's more of like a veteran gripe, in my opinion.
Thank you. So what are you guys thinking that like what does PA doing right now is bad or good thing? And also, if you were in charge, that's the important part, what would you like to add or remove? One thing to add, one thing to remove.
That's a tough question. I think PA does well when it comes to quality of life updates. I think what they do pretty poorly, in my opinion, is balance changes. I think if I was in charge, I would probably... I don't think there's anything I necessarily add or remove. I don't know if my idea would be good for the game, but I think I'd probably listen to NAEU feedback a lot more heavily than what the current PA is doing, because I think PA right now kind of only listens to Korea. And I'm saying this in a very general stance, but a lot of the balance changes that have occurred, especially for PvP, have come because of a Korean post or something, or a Korean feedback. But I think a lot of the competitive players reside in NA and EU. And I think if I was in charge, I would have my balance team or whatever make sure to review their changes or look and get some ideas from the NAEU scene. That would probably be what I would recommend my balance team, instead of either going off Korean or just doing whatever they're doing. So that would probably be what I would do. But yeah, over to Daymo.
Yeah, well, I like what Travesty said, so just something else to say. I think like it's not so much something I would like to add and remove as separate things. I think there should be a bit of a rework in the way open world is treated. Like, because as I was saying before, I feel like they overcorrected how they wanted to stop all this conflict from happening, and I feel like they should add more systems within the game again that encourages people to fight over things organically. So, like, I know New World had a system where there would just be like a castle or some sort of like a flag that you would just go and claim, and then you go stay there, and then once you claim it, it just gives your faction in that area a buff, and then another faction can come and then they can go claim it instead. And then if you end up like being all there at the same time, then you end up fighting each other over it. And I feel like you could do something like that with like guilds. If you went somewhere, you claimed something, it gives your guild a buff in that area or whatever, and then another guild can come show up, and then you just have some organic fight. And then on top of that, I feel like they kind of removing PvP from the game in all states unless you go to Arsha specifically, and I kind of feel that they probably should just make an area of the game, like just certain servers where there's no PvP enabled at all, kind of like what they do on seasons where you just can't flag up. And if people don't want PvP, they can safely go there and it's fine. And then just sort of have more of this open world organic presence, or have something where you have to go into town and flag up, and then you're flagged up, and if you're flagged up you have like some experience boost or drop rate boost, some incentive. Like kind of remove it from Arsha servers specifically and just kind of make it a general thing. That's kind of how I feel about it. I like details I'm sure it could be a lot different, but something along those lines, just to create a more organic way to fight in the open world that kind of just brings everyone together, I think would be really good for the game.
And Dama, you like reminded me of what I was talking or thinking about yesterday, like open world PvP situation wise. Right now in
Mm.
PvE, you have to slot so much monster AP, so
Oh,
much
yeah.
monster stuff that in a fight in Arsha doesn't feel like a fight because most likely you get ganked and then you swap to your PvP stuff and then they're gone. You swap back to your PvE stuff and then you get ganked again. You can't really fight people in PvE gear. So one thing I would add to the game is like a universal gear set. So if you get attacked while you're PvEing, you don't have to swap. You have like a PvP set that is activated, or I don't know how the implementation of this would be, but just something that makes it so it's not like a lose right away kind of thing, where if you get attacked while you're PvEing, you're minus 200 gear score in PvP essentially. So
Yeah.
a universal guild set that has your PvP stuff on, so that open world PvP fights are actually natural. This was done. You were capable of doing this back in Blood Wolves times, or stuff where you didn't have to have extremes amounts of monster AP on. You could have like a PVX set, but nowadays most of the end game grind spots, if you're not running 1,000 to 1,100 monster AP, you're probably grinding slower than a 650 gear score. Too valid to me.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like a lot of the grind spots now, because of like the change to the crystal system, where you can now just like have a complete different loadout for PvE compared to PvP, whereas previously everything was kind of locked and you couldn't just change it. So everyone basically spec'd for PvP, and then they grinded in that PvP set because they didn't really need all this extra AP that you need now. And then like if you're trying to grind Arsha on these endgame spots, a lot of the PvP is just some guy in a full evasion set that just comes and griefs you, and you've got no chance of fighting them because you sacrifice so much DP for AP to grind the spot, and then you're also sacrificing a bunch of accuracy so you can grind the spot, and then this guy just counters both your low DP and your low accuracy, and then you can't fight him. And then so you die, you come back with your real gear on, say you kill them, and then you have to put all your normal gear back on just to grind again. And then if the guy just comes back, so it's like you just can't it's just a sort of grief fest, and it's just not fun. So if there was a way that you could PvP or PvE with the ability to actually defend your spot if you get attacked on Arsha.
And you also brought up incentive to PvP as well, because right now it's
just incentive,
it's just grief fest essentially.
Okay. What advice would you like to give newbies, returnees, and other players in the game?
Okay, so for advice, you don't have to rush gear. I say I rush gear, but essentially what I've been doing is just consistently making small goals and meeting them, and I enjoy the grind. But if you're a new player and you have like this immense pressure to get a lot of gear, take it slow. Don't enhance, in my opinion. If you can avoid enhancing, that's better. Just buy your gear after saving. Understand that delayed gratification is one of the key ways to progress in BDO. And then also, BDO is just a game. Don't spend your life savings on it, or waste a lot of time in it. Essentially, is my advice, even though I don't follow it sometimes.
Yeah, for new players, I really recommend joining a guild. Like I personally didn't, like when I first started playing the game, I didn't really think I wanted to join a guild. I just ran around guildless for my first month. I started watching like videos, and they recommended joining a guild for guild missions and other stuff, which isn't so much relevant now. At the time, the silver you got from it mattered. But then you also get guild buffs and other things. But like they're just incentives. But the real reason to do that is so you have people that you can ask for help for things, because the game doesn't really hold your hand too much. There's so much in it, and then sometimes you just need a guild chat to ask a random question, and then someone can just answer a question for you. And then also a bunch of other people might ask questions, and then you just read something, and then you're like, oh, I didn't know that, and you learn. And it feels a lot better when you're learning the game with other people, and then also just have people to talk to. Like the game's a very community focused game, more so when there was more PvP, in my opinion, but it's still relevant now. New players, you can get into Node Wars and PvP relatively quickly. So if that's an interest of yours, go for it. If you're a PvE focused player, you can take your time with it. The game is always relevant. Like that's kind of the thing that makes it unique. It doesn't have seasons and stuff where it's like, oh, this all this stuff doesn't matter anymore. You can like drop the game and come back a year later and still just pick up where you left off. It's a very good side game. You don't have to like burn yourself out. If you ever feel like you want to break, just take a break. That's fine. You don't have to like blow up all your gear or other stuff that people do. Maybe in a couple of months you're like, I feel like hitting some things again, or there's some new class that you want to try out, stuff like that. But yeah, just have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously.
Thank you. We are reaching the end of the interview. Is there anything else you would like to add before we finish?
Appreciate Kendai for reaching out. All the Awakened Mystic enjoyers, feel free to stop by Damo and I stream if you have any questions. Damo streams a lot more than I do, but we both have our experiences on Awakened Mystic, and we can help you out. I have YouTube guides out as well, which I've actually reached out to Damo and a few other mystics. If you guys want to check those out, they can help you out on your journey. But yeah, that's it from me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the interview. Thanks for chatting with us. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, I think I try to stream like every day. Travesty streams a fair bit too, and we're kind of like offset from different time zones. So usually, if I'm not streaming, Travesty's streaming, something like that. Travesty, as he said, he's got a lot of good content and guides on YouTube. So if you want to like pick up the class and just want to watch a YouTube video, check Travesty's channel out. And then if you want any more information, definitely check either of our streams out. We'll be happy to help you out with the class and answer any questions you have.
All right. I want to thank both of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. All the informations, all the thoughts, infos, and everything was priceless. Appreciate it. And you guys already seeing the social links related with the Twitch, YouTube, and all the social links on the screen right now. Thank you so much, guys. All right, guys, do not forget, BDO is just a game. Have a nice game.